Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is the Canadian Fire Gal. I hope you guys are doing great, staying healthy, staying indoors. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about fire and kind of explain what it is and how I came about finding it and where I'm at on my personal journey towards financial independence and early retirement. So I started my personal journey on the fire path about 6 years ago when I first moved to Calgary from Ottawa on the eastern part of Canada in Ontario. When I moved out here, I had nothing in savings and I basically knew absolutely nothing about money whatsoever. I grew up in a household that didn't really talk about money. It was super taboo, a super awkward topic for my parents to talk to me about. Anytime I had questions about money, my parents didn't really want to discuss it with me, so I resorted to looking things up online and learning for myself. When I first moved to Calgary about 6 years ago, I started to research money. I started on Reddit. The personal finance subreddit is what I started to check out, and in going through that, I kind of fell down a financial rabbit hole, and I eventually found the idea of FIRE. I found the financial independence subreddit, and going through that and reading a bunch of posts, I really got inspired, and I decided this is something that I want to do, and I want to basically change my whole life and learn as much as I can, increase my income, reduce my expenses, and do everything I can in order to retire early. So I consider myself part of the Lean Fire group. That is, you want to retire before you're 60 years old with expected retirement expenses of under $40,000. So you have a few different types of fire communities that I've seen, especially on Reddit. You have the regular financial independence, which kind of just is an overview of everybody, and then there are subdivisions in the financial independence community that have more specific goals. So you have Fat Fire, which is you have a very large amount of expenses and you want to keep that through retirement, and these people want to retire on like $5 to $10+ million. In the Lean Fire crowd, which is what I'm a part of, your expenses are expected to be under $40,000. So currently my projected expenses in retirement are between $24,000 and $30,000 a year. That is about what I'm spending right now, and in retirement, I plan to have a paid off house, so that obviously would take a massive chunk out of my expenses. I'll actually go through, I have a spreadsheet on my phone that I use to track all of my progress, track all of my incoming expenses, track my income, any kind of extra income, because I do a few things on the side that bring in income that I can chat about if you guys are interested. But right now I'm gonna open up my spreadsheet and kind of go through the last 5 or 6 years and what my expenses have been and what my savings rates have been. Some of this data isn't super accurate because when I first started my fire journey, I really didn't take good notes. I didn't collect the right data. A lot of this information is me pulling it from my tax returns and then just minusing whatever I saved and then getting my expenses from that. So back in 2015 was the first year I really started tracking anything at all or started saving. I made about $35,000 in income after taxes, and my expenses were about $25,000. So in that year I saved just about $10,000 into just a TFSA. I started with a TFSA due to some of the research that I've done, and I'll actually cover it in a different video what the biggest differences are between an RRSP and a TFSA and why you should go which route depending on your income and depending on your job, your matching if you have RRSP matching, but we'll cover that in a different video. 2016 I made about $43,500 and my expenses were about $32,400. So I saved just around $11,000 that year. In 2017 I made about $55,000 and my expenses were around $35,000. So that year I had a jump in savings and I saved just under $20,000, which was a really great year for me. It really like bumped up my it really bumped up my net worth and allowed me to see how quickly I could save with just tracking what I was spending and cutting down on areas that I really didn't need to be spending that much on. In 2018, I had a big jump in salary again, and I made just over $70,000 after taxes, and I spent just about $48,000. So that year I saved $22,500 or so. Last year I had approximately $63,000 in after-tax income, so I had a bit of a deduction in my income that year, and my expenses were just under $47,000. So I was able to save $16,000 that year. Over the last 5 years, since 2015 when I started this spreadsheet, I was able to save just over 25% of my take-home income every year. In 2015, I saved 28%, and then compared to last year, I saved 26% of my income. It could be better, but because I'm on the Lean Fire train, I have decided that I want to enjoy things a lot more now rather than wait until I'm retired to buy things I want, go on nice vacations. I figure if I'm still saving about 25% to 30% of my income, I'm still doing quite a bit better than a lot of people. And so my retirement age goal is 50. I would love to retire at 50, potentially just go down to part-time work if at that point I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm the type of person that really likes to work, do things, learn things, and I don't want that to stop. So my plan is to be financially independent a little bit before I turn 50, and if I really want to retire completely, then I have the option to when I turn 50, and that'll be the last day I'll have to work for money. So my Lean Fire goal for myself is $500,000, and a lot of people think that that is quite lean, but because my plan includes having a paid off house and I plan to potentially work part-time if required, that it really does work out mathematically that will be enough to sustain the type of lifestyle I do live now. I've had a few large expenses in the last few years, like braces and living on my own, so that is one of the reasons why I didn't save as much as I could have in those years. But going into retirement, the plan is to have very small housing costs, just insurance, repairs, maintenance, all those kinds of things, but I won't be paying rent or a mortgage by the time I retire. Having a paid off car at that time as well. However, I do plan to be biking, walking, and taking public transit a lot of the time when I am retired, because I will have the time to actually do that. Currently, my job actually requires me to have a vehicle for work, so I don't have the option to not have a vehicle right now, but I do live in the city center, so I don't really need it. I don't really use my car other than going to work or to go out to, say, the mountains or visiting people that live quite a bit out of the city center. So why fire? Why did I become attracted to this idea of retiring early and saving money? So like I mentioned earlier, I grew up with not a whole lot of financial knowledge. My parents didn't really talk about money. It was a very awkward topic, which it is still very taboo for a lot of people, and I really don't think that is the way things are going to go moving forward. I think people are getting more educated, especially with having so much information on the internet. You can Google anything and find the information that you need. So coming from a place where money was very taboo, money was usually tight. I live with my mom and my brother. My parents are divorced, so my mother was always working 2 jobs just to make ends meet, and just seeing that struggle firsthand, growing up and getting out of home, moving away from home, the idea of having that financial independence and never having to worry about money, never not being able to afford to put food on the table or to make sure all your bills are covered, that was absolutely huge to me. And it was a huge draw that I had control over this. I could reduce my expenses. I could work to increase my income, which I did. And just having that freedom takes an incredible amount of weight off your shoulders. So I was really, really drawn to that. And I'm still on the path, almost 6 years later. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned on this journey so far is that increasing your income is just as important, if not quite a bit more important, than reducing your expenses. Because you can only reduce your expenses to a certain level that you can't go below. You have to have your bare necessities covered and you can't go below that. But with income, you can always increase it. You can gain new skills, you can move to a different company, you can go back to school and go into a different field, you can change it up. So I have just high school education, I don't have college or university. When I first moved to Calgary, I worked in the oil and gas sector, like a lot of people do here, and I worked as a receptionist. And I didn't really make a whole lot. I did have a side job at the time as well to supplement my income because it was pretty low. More forward in my journey, increase my income. And I couldn't do it in the role that I was in at that time. And jumping to another company wouldn't have really changed my income all that much. So a couple jobs after the oil and gas job, I did get an opportunity to go into a sales position. It started out as inside sales, so I got a small amount of commission. I think it was about 1.5% of anything I sold, and I would make about $200 or $300 every month extra, which was awesome at the time. After doing that for a little under a year, I ended up moving to outside sales, and I saw a massive spike in commission. So my base salary at the time was around $42,000, but I was making about $20,000 extra in commission for a couple of years. I still work in sales and I still get a commission, but it's more around $15,000. The nice thing about sales is you can work harder to make more. It does take time to get to that place, especially if you don't have customers that are very loyal to you. So starting at a new company, it takes some time to build up that backlog of work. And saying that, there's basically no ceiling to how much money you can make in sales, and that really drew me towards that. So I'm still in sales today. I don't think it will be a forever type of job, but I'm definitely learning a lot of experience and a lot of new skills. So I just wanted to give you guys kind of an overview of what FIRE is and what my journey has been like so far. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Let me know what you think. If you're on the FIRE journey yourself, I'd love to hear about your experience. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.